Hi, Jim. This is Jim Gillis with Win My Vote and the National Student Parent Mock Election and National Student Vote. Thanks so much for reaching out. I was actually drafting a letter to you when I got your invite, and then I just got caught up with other stuff and got pulled into other things and never finished it. Um, but would love to talk with you. I think run for office is incredible. I really like it, as well as some of the partnerships that you've made along the way. I had kind of the same feeling back in like 2016. It was a little bit earlier than that. I held up the voter information guide to my wife and said, um, hey, if Steve Jobs was in charge of uh, I'm so sorry. I just realized that my camera is not working. It's not displaying on top of this PowerPoint, or at least I don't think it is. So sorry about that. But anyway, so I said to my wife, if Steve Jobs was in charge of this, it would not look like this. It would look like iTunes, and running for office would be 99 bucks. Um, what's really got me thinking is, why hasn't the elections department really, updated their stuff, and why isn't it like social media? And sort of how did we get into this mess? So that's kind of how I was looking at this project, of how we got into this mess where money's buying everything, and it's increasing. Election after election, even the midterms, all of these dollar amounts are going way up. And if I were to blame anyone, I would say it's the elections department's fault, because they used to produce these magazines back in the day when there was no internet, and TV really wasn't a viable option for them. And I remember my dad flipping through it and really using it. But even then, it wasn't even that engaging back then. But now that we've moved on, and we're into the age of information and the internet age, and we have computers in our pockets. There's no reason why they still should be back here printing these things. And to give you an idea, that this thing hasn't changed in 100 years, maybe more. And also, it's become such a non-factor. Gavin Newsom, the sitting lieutenant governor, was running for governor in California, and he didn't even bother putting in a profile in the voter guide, and it's mailed out to every single voter in the country. And he won by what turned out to be a landslide. So, if there was ever a referendum on the elections department's voter guide and voter information booklet and the information they provide to voters, this was a perfect example of it's a non-factor when it comes to elections. So I kind of understand why they didn't, and this is one of my favorite cartoons. And I'll show you the punchline of the cartoon here. Um, and it was, the elections. This mouse here saying, "Yeah, but think about the implications of us building a better mousetrap." Sort of like, how about we just keep things the way they are? So that's kind of the cynical side of me saying that, that's why the Secretary of State is not driving for a real platform that people would use. They just kind of want it to stay the same way. Um, but then I got to thinking, why isn't there something? Why hasn't Silicon Valley, disrupted this industry? They've disrupted every other industry that relied heavily on magazines and newspapers and paper. They can, that stuff can go online, and it becomes faster and cheaper, and it can spread, and you can do way more things with it. So that was kind of strange. And then I thought, well, the money's there because it's a $1 billion industry, and these candidates are spending huge amounts of money. The voters are unhappy. That's, everyone knows that. And then the sellers, the candidates, they're unhappy as well. The price that it costs to run for office, is their worst nightmare. When you talk with candidates, they'll tell you the worst part of the job is having to do all of the fundraising and the money. Um, the only people that are happy in this whole equation, are special interest money, the 1%, that's out there, and we don't need them for anything. Um, so I kind of started thinking, okay, what would this thing look like, and what would the business model be? So this is what we came up for with what it looks like, and I'll run you through it real quickly. And that is, voter just puts in their address or their zip code, and we can, give them their ballot. And all of this information is out there. There's plenty of other sites that do it. I'm sure your site does it as well. And there's also, just in the last couple of years, there's just been more and more data, and you can access it easier and easier, to get all the candidate names, to get all the contact information, et cetera. But anyway, so this would be a one site, where if the elections department was really serious about democracy and that was their goal, and we had, really good people in charge, this is what it would look like. At least this is what I think it would look like. And that would be that everything would be, focused around my ballot, because that's the most important thing. When the election is, the offices that are up for election, the candidates that are running for election, that type of thing. It would also have all of this stuff, just at my fingertips, like important dates and finding my poll place and checking voter registration and, printing my ballot and my favorites. All that stuff is just a click away. And you could do city, county, other, which mean, down ballot stuff, which are in different regions and districts and that type of thing. But you'd be able to, search and sort through your entire ballot. And then you'd be able to scroll down and see all the city council and the school board. You'd be able to go down and see the propositions and even the pending propositions. So you could do a little bit of research on, who's backing them, who's opposing them, that type of stuff. And I can get into all of how these things function with you if you're interested. But essentially, the way it would work is that candidates would build their own profile when they go to get certified for the ballot. They build their own profile. They can even build it before that. And as they do that, my ballot would start becoming populated with all of these candidates that I could look at. And I can say, great. So to give you an example, Mike Young, he wants to sign up and build his ballot. It's just as easy as building a LinkedIn profile or an online dating profile. He just goes up here. He says, I want to become a candidate. And he's got all of his little edit buttons here, and he can just, do it really, really simple. And it's all the content is, already available. So this is what the ballot would look like, right? And you can click through, which I'll show you in a second. But one feature, which I think is very, very important, and it will be the go-to-market feature, and that is trusted sources. Those are groups and organizations and individuals that you trust, that you opt into, that you want to know how they're voting, who they're supporting, who they're endorsing, that kind of stuff. So you would be able to click on that, and then you would see this library here of, people that have selected favorites on their ballot and made endorsements, and now that are up here. And again, it's very much like Facebook groups or following somebody on Twitter, that kind of thing. So you would add these, and you'd say, I like the Sierra Club, and I want to search for Moms Demand Action, for example. So you put that in the search, and here they are. Here you can add them real quickly, or you can click straight through to them and see what their ballot looks like. So now here is their ballot, and the way that this works is that the groups just get ballots, right? So Moms Demand Action, totally free. They sign up for free. All their members are free, and they can, get every ballot in the country if they want. And then they can go through and they can, make favorites. So for example, I would sign up. I'm the official Moms Demand Action admin, and I have the Moms Demand Action ballot here. And then I would just, be able to go through it and, select the candidates that we're going to endorse. If I want, I can do a written endorsement or a video endorsement, which is super simple, which I'll show you in a sec as well. So now I'm back here and I'm on Moms Demand Action ballot, and which is, these candidates are my ballot as well. And I can see that they're, supporting Mark Cuban. I can watch a video or see their comment, or I can just click straight through and say, what, I agree. I'm going to, vote for Mark too. And my ballot gets updated. I can also just click here and all of them are, updated on my ballot. So if I really like this group, if I trust them, if I've read a bunch of stuff, or if I'm part of the group, or I follow them, or whatever it may be, I can quickly do that. Here, let's say I agree with everything except for their position on Prop 2, I can easily just change that anytime I want. I can also see these percentages up here and see how it's doing, which is great for groups and organizations. They don't have to spend all the money on polling or doing any of that type of stuff. So now I'm back here and I add them, but I also want to search for my friend Sarah. And that's great. She's on there, so I'm going to add her as well. So now that I'm back on my ballot here and I'm getting ready to look through the candidates, it doesn't really matter if Kimberly here has raised $300,000 for the city council seat, and Mike here has raised $500, because they're right side by side. And this is where I'm going to actively make my decision for whom to vote. So I'm going to click on Mike and I'm going to watch a video of his, and I'm going to, read about him, and I'm going to go up and maybe do a quick bio. He went to Harvard Kennedy School in Berkeley, and this is the stuff he's been doing. That's great. And I can see the party. I can share his profile. I can ask him a question. I can, check out his website if I want. I can donate straight to his campaign. And then I can also click on the issues. So here I can start scrolling down and seeing what, where he stands on all the issues. I can also just do a little quick one because the most important one for me is the waterfront redevelopment. So I click on that, and then I can go right here. It looks like he's in favor of it, and I want to learn more. So now I can drill down, into that. And again, he can make this as elaborate as he'd like, just as much as his Facebook page, or his website or whatever. And now I say, great, I'm going to look at some of his endorsements. Now, these are groups and organizations and individuals that he is featuring, that they've endorsed him and he features. But really what I want to see is I just want to see the ones that I have selected as my trusted sources. So now I see all of these, and I see Moms Demand Action are supporting him as well. And, Sarah Smith, my friend here. So I can click here, I can read about it, I can watch her video that she shot. And again, this is really simple for her because she shoots one video, she uploads it, and that's it, right? And now everyone of all of her friends can see that. And the way that Win My Vote is so much different than Facebook or Twitter is that Facebook or Twitter is going to make her post that thing, 100 times to keep it fresh so it doesn't keep disappearing. And then they're also, Facebook will also charge her money to get boosts in order for it to be effective at all. So she's not going to do that. She's not going to go out and campaign and spend a bunch of money. But here she does one video, she uploads it, and it's always going to be, right here where I need to see it, and it's not going to go anywhere. Same thing with Unite America. I like them, so I want to watch their video on it. And now I'm convinced, and I did, look at all the other candidates. So I'm saying, hey, Mike's my guy, and now he moves to the front here, and it's nice and prominent. But I also want to share it with some friends. So I can do that. I can share his profile with my friend. My friend can easily sign up with social media, and now he's right here on Mike's profile. And he has a common friend in Sarah, which he had added from an email, and now he can click here and see that same video that I was telling you about. And he agrees and says, great, Mike's our guy. And then, Mike is favorited on his as well. So this kind of gives it that viral effect of being able to share with your friends. Right now, again, Facebook and Twitter are billion-dollar companies because you share and then it disappears, and you share and then it disappears, and you got to share 7 or 10 times or whatever it may be. And there's no reason for me to go to Mike's Facebook page or his Twitter account, ever again. I have 100 candidates that I got to manage and keep track of. So this puts them all on, one platform where you're going to need to know about them. So Robert Votes 31 here is going to go through his ballot now, and the one that the thing that is most important to him is this Proposition 2. So he clicks on that. He can watch an explainer video, and now he's going to scroll through his trusted sources. He went through and added a bunch, and he can do the same thing, and he can click through and watch the other side. Here is a feature where he can uncover some of the groups and organizations and individuals that have supported it or opposed it that aren't his trusted sources, right? So he can say, okay, you know what, I haven't had time to do a lot of trusted sources. I just want to see kind of who these guys are. So he can watch them. And again, if this is, the Nazi party of the US or whatever, then he can quickly just, collapse it and say, okay, goodbye, guys. But with that, he can then, click here and say, I'm going to vote yes on it. And then this will pop up and say, hey, do you want to do an endorsement on it? And this happens also with candidates as well. I just didn't want to, throw too much stuff at you on the ballot. So he says, yep, I'm going to do a little YouTube video and just do a cut and paste of the share URL. And it's up there. And now I'm done, right? And now that's nice and prominent. I'm going to vote yes on it. And, I'm going to share that back with me, Faster Voter 22. And again, they will come right here. and I can scroll through mine, and I had added Robert, and he has this video that is up, hosted on YouTube, and I can watch that and say, hey, this is great. I'm going to vote yes on it as well. And that's it. And then when I go back to my ballot, I can go through and see all of, my favorites only, make sure everything is right. There's Mike. I can go down, make sure I have all the props done. And then I can find my polling place, and away I go. I can get my map here, and then I have all my favorites right here on my cell phone. So would love to talk again. Would love to talk with you. The business model is candidates pay on average $2.99. We're gonna, there's a couple of different pricing levels between running for school board, or community college board, and running for Senate. But they're all a fraction of what the candidates are looking to spend. So we want to make sure that lots and lots of candidates are able to sign up, and go out and recruit their friends and their friends and their friends and do that, and we kind of get the viral effect going, where the best ideas and the best candidates move to the front. And I can talk a little bit more about that. But this estimate of 1 million candidates, I think, is going to be much more than that. I think you'll see numbers closer to real world stuff. If um, I used to run call centers, and we'd put an ad out for an operations manager or something, we'd get 200 resumes. We'd narrow it down to 10, and then we'd narrow it down to 5, and then we would pick someone to make an offer and have some backups and that type of stuff. So those are the typical numbers that the real world sees. They certainly don't see one or two candidates, for something as important as this. So we did in 2016, we did the National Student Parent Mock Election, and the National Student Vote, and we also did the National Student Council. So the National Association of Student Council was really cool. It was 1,100 kids. We put it up on the big screen at their convention. They all whipped out their iPads and iPhones and Chromebooks, and started going through the candidates and talking about Jill Stein and Gary Johnson and Evan McMullen at the time. And they were, talking and commenting and changing their mind, and then they were all locking their votes in. And that was a great experience in the national the National Student Parent Mock Election, which is now just called the National Student Mock Election. That was 113,000 in one day. Online sign up. We did many more than that actually got online and printed out the ballot and did it by hand. But the 113,000 were unique users that were going through the profiles, and everything went really smoothly. We are in the process now of doing the 2020 National Student Vote with a variety of different groups and partners, and we're looking for it to be the biggest, ever. And that's just a matter of whether we can get these groups and organizations to agree upon the format, and do everything on our platform. So, for example, the Discovery Kids, that's more of a television show. So they're excited that they can get our information. The Youth Leadership Institute, that's the University of Virginia. We're probably going to do all of their stuff as well. And then there's lots of other groups and organizations that we're talking to about this stuff, and would love to talk with you, more about this. So we're in a stage now where we're looking for investors, but really only between 50K and 100K to make everything that you just saw real and viable and bounceable and clickable and all that type of stuff. I'll show you I don't know if you had time to visit our site. I'm sure you didn't, but this is what our site looks like, right now. This is the ballot that we used for the National Student Parent Mock Election in 2016. So all these numbers are real. And these are the real numbers. And this is how it works, right? So if there's 50 candidates, we're only going to display most likely 10, most likely 8, with a little arrow here. So you can scroll through and see the other candidates that aren't in that top 8. But again, those are, I don't want to get into the weed on how we do that and how we try to make it fair, and that type of stuff. But you can click on the candidate profile, and again, this is kind of the old version, of the site here, so it doesn't look as nice. But then you just click on the
I
candidate
think we can
profile.
all agree it's been a long campaign. But tomorrow, you get to pick our next president. So here are a few things that I hope you'll think about. First, it's not just my name and my opponent's name on the ballot. It's the kind of country we want for our children and grandchildren.
Anyway, I hadn't heard that one. I don't. I don't think. But you can, click straight through, and this is how the endorsements work. You
For
can
more
watch.
than a year now, across thousands of
You just do exactly, and you can see that there's new format how you have the endorsements, but it's that easy. You just, this guy Casey right here. My son follows him on YouTube, and you would just click straight through and hear what he has to say.
Hillary Clinton. I will be voting for Hillary Clinton. I avoid talking politics on this channel, on this forum, because politics are...
And then you can favorite the candidate here, and then when you go back to your ballot, you'll see that star here, and then the percentages, and obviously they're not going to change because of the real numbers. Anyway, would love to talk with you anytime, and I'd be happy to answer questions. And I know I threw up a lot of information in this video, but I wanted to keep it short. It could go on for a long time. We have a lot of other features, things like, like primary ballots for groups and organizations and straw polling. This thing can grow into 100 different, tentacles in different ways. Anyway, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.